Di da din di da di da di da di da di da di da dun di da di da di da di da di da dun di da di da di di da di da dun di ha di da di. Boker Tov, everybody. Hope you're well. We're going to be learning chapter 111 in the Kitzur Shulchan, the laws. It's called Hilchos Bedikas Ubitol Chametz, the laws for searching for and nullifying Chametz. And we welcome you to the Shir. If you're watching online on Facebook or you're watching this recorded. So just to recall, Passover has a few prohibitions when it comes to Chametz. One is we're not supposed to eat it, right? We're not supposed to have it in our possession. Right? We're not supposed to see it, own it, eat it. So it says in the Torah, Lo yira'eh lecha chametz, you shouldn't see any chametz, v'lo yira'eh lecha sa'or b'chol gvulecha, and you shouldn't have in your possession any leaven in your borders, gvulecha's borders. Okay. It also says in Shmos, Shivas Yamim Seor Lo Yivseh B'techa, you shouldn't find any leaven in your house. And so the first obligation of Passover actually comes before the festival, which is the cleansing of our homes or the isolation of any chametz which we might have in our possession. And then this also includes a mindful nullification, which we call bittul, of any chametz which you might have forgotten. And that bittul relegates anything as insignificant, right? So in the big picture, you prepared your home for Passover, but you forgot, a muffin in the corner, while we still are going to have to deal with what to do about that muffin that we missed. We don't transgress the prohibition on owning or seeing it b'mezi. That means it's an accidental thing, and we don't even own it at that point because we've declared it ownerless. And that we'll get into all of these details and more. So again, chapter 111, and Sa'or, the word leaven, refers to inedible dough. So I've made a batch of dough, but I haven't cooked it yet. It also, we remember back in chapter 35 about sourdough. That's Sa'or, right? That is a container that has the starter for your bread. Can't have that, right? And chametz refers to one of the 5 types of grain. So that is wheat, barley, spelt, rye, and oats. And any of those that have come in contact with water are going to be called chametz. We're not going to hold on to any of those raw products either, or even flour of those things. We're going to want to either sell or get rid of because of rabbinic prohibitions. But the chametz that the Torah speaks about is any of those 5 grains that's come in contact with water. And on a Torah level, you can fulfill the obligation of getting rid of chametz in 2 ways: bedikas chametz, searching for the chametz, and then disposing of it, and bittul, nullification of the chametz. But the sages said, you know what? We're going to have you do both. Even though the Torah says one or the other, we're going to have you do both. Because relying on the nullification, the bittul, alone, is going to be considered insufficient because, you may not have really meant the nullification. Maybe you weren't sincere. Additionally, If you have chametz readily available in your home, you might inadvertently, go for it, So we're going to be very, very careful about the containment of this chametz leading up to Pesach. And let's say we were only going to search for the chametz and get rid of what we find. Okay, that would be good if we are sure we got everything. But what if we miss some, right? If we miss some of it, then we run into a problem on Pesach, and we run into a problem after Pesach. So the sages, in their wisdom, said, you know what, we're going to do both. We're going to search for it and nullify it and get rid of it or isolate it and sell it, or we're going to do the nullification process. Number one, Balayla Shiv Erev Pesach, the night before Erev Pesach. So that is the night that begins the 14th of Nisan, the night before the Seder night. We check for chametz. One is required to perform the search immediately at the beginning of the evening. We're not supposed to eat. We can't sit down for a meal. Or to do any kinds of work. A half an hour before nightfall. We're concerned that if a person gets involved in a nice meal, or they're at work or something, they're going to get distracted. And when it comes time to do the bedika, they're not going to be, they're going to be distracted, and then they're going to push it off, and that would not be good. So so the question is exactly what time you should begin. We want to begin, the most opinions say at Seisach Chavim, that's when the stars come out, in order to do it at the right time. Now, a person who's, let's say, at synagogue at that time, and they're praying, so then when they come home, immediately they would do the Bedikas Chametz. You're not supposed to do it before nightfall. Let's say you did do it before nightfall. So you did the Bedikas Chametz. What do you do at that point? You're going to do it again. And then the question is, are you going to do it with a blessing or not? So since you've already done Bedikas Chametz, right? And now this one is the real, and you said the blessing. Now this time you're not going to say the blessing. So again, rare occurrence, but should it happen, that's what you want to do. Let's say you did it the 13th at night. So a full day before. So not the 14th at night when you're supposed to, but you did it on the 13th at night. Do you need to do it again on the 14th at night? So there's a discussion, and we probably would say you don't need to do it again, but again, it's not advisable. And if you're going away on vacation for Passover, you're not at home, we can get into that a little bit, not right now, but the answer is that the Bedikas Chametz is obligatory on all of us, whether we're at home for Pesach or not, and not just on our homes, but also on our places of business and so forth. Number two, he wants us to use a single wax candle. And we shouldn't use braided candle like we do for Havdalah, because that would be like we're going to call it a torch. But if you don't have a wax candle, you could use a ner shel chelev, which we don't know, I said tallow candle. Now the question is, why not a torch? Well, there's a few reasons given, but one is that we're worried that the guys or the gals not going to check really well because they're carrying this big torch of fire around with them, and they're not going to do well because they don't want to burn down their home. The question comes up: can you use a light, a flashlight? So the answer is, many authorities permit, and some even recommend using a flashlight to do bedikas chametz. And there are those.
I have one thing to add. Like at a lot of the kosher grocery stores, like you can purchase like bedikas kits. say with the feather and stuff like that.
Yes, that's right. So what we do is those who want to do it traditionally will do it with a wooden spoon to catch the chametz, a feather to sweep the chametz into the spoon, and a wax candle. And then those who want to be very, they want to use the flashlight because they think they're going to be able to do a better job with the flashlight for looking for the chametz around their home. So they'll say the blessing and start with the candle, and then they'll switch to the flashlight. Some people will just use the flashlight from the beginning, and then the question arises: can you keep the lights on in the house or not? So Rav Moshe rules that you don't have to turn off the electric lights, and maybe it's actually preferable to leave them on. I got into a discussion with my chavrusa about this. It's definitely our custom to turn off the lights, but I see the wisdom of leaving on the lights as well, because if you're going to really want to do a thorough job, maybe you're going to miss something. The counter argument is that when all the lights are on, so then your flashlight or your candle certainly aren't going to really help you to isolate certain areas to check. And that's the whole idea of the candle and the torch, is that it allows you to focus in on one part of the home. And so then you have a better chance of examining different things and so forth. Now, hopefully all of us have done a very extreme clean. We've gone through our home, we've looked through everything already, and this might only just be a perfunctory, but nonetheless, we still have to do it well, and we want to do a good check. Okay, number 3, boikin kol hachadarim. We have to check all of the rooms. Sheyesh lachush, that there's a concern, that there might be some chametz brought into them. Even a cellar, or an attic, or a shop, or a woodshed, any place you're concerned that you might have brought in some chametz, maybe it's problem. You have to check it. You also should inspect anything that you use to store chametz. Now, if you have children in the home, that could be any place, right? That could be the closets, and so forth. But you don't have to check under your furniture that is immovable, like a washer dryer. You're welcome to, but it's not required to check under places that are immobile. But a couch, which is movable, one should check under there. Before you check for chametz, you should sweep out, right? And that's what he's saying. He says, sweep well all these places. So today we're blessed with not just brooms, but we have other implements of destruction, the vacuum cleaner, right? You should clean them all of chametz. You should do a nice cleaning in the house. So that it'll be easier then to search. So if you do all this prep beforehand, when you get to b'dikas chametz that evening, it's going to be much easier for you to check. Now, you're asking, what about the attic and the cellar? So if, maybe we don't bring it down there. Well, the truth is, many people do use those places, one or the other, to store things. And we want to make sure that we didn't leave any accidentally. For example, maybe you brought up a couple bottles of spirits that were left over from some kind of party, right? Or a case of beer. And it happened 10 months ago. You've totally forgotten about it. So while you say, I might not have brought a sandwich up there and left, a bialy on the windowsill of my attic, there's going to be other kinds of things that you might have left in an attic or in a woodshed or in a basement. And so we're going to want to check those well. Let's do one more. Refet shel bakar. If you're a farmer and you've got a cowshed, and you put grain into the refet, right, for the cows, for the animals, and if you put out grain for chickens, okay, right? Even if you just throw it on the ground, you don't have to check those areas. Why? First of all, we have one safek. If you put it into the chicken house or into the refet, the barn, where there's a doubt whether it became chametz at all. And let's say it did become chametz, shema echlu hakol. It's a good chance that the animals ate everything they could find. And they don't leave over, especially animals are very thorough. But if you gave it to their tavos chametz, but if you put out chametz for them, i.e., you gave them breadcrumbs, right? You only have one suffix now that maybe they ate it or not. Well, then let's say you can't depend on that one suffix, and you have to search your kasha. Now, today, what's going to be? Most of us, maybe we hope to endeavor to have these kind of animals on the house, but a lot of people might have a dog or even a dog shed. Dog food can be an issue. So let's say you put out dog food into the dog house. So that might be an area that you're going to want to check for chametz. There are those who say, don't bring any chametz out there for 30 days beforehand, because then you're gonna have you're gonna be You're going to be assured that nothing's going on. We're going to get more into this. We've got, Siman 111 has altogether 17 subchapters. 17 paragraphs. And as we go through this, we're going to get a really solid idea of Bedikas Chametz. And I'll just end on one thought. It is never wrong to start preparing for Pesach, even a couple weeks out. But I always say, if you're cleaning for Pesach before Purim, you need to see your therapist. Everybody have an awesome day.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.